Your Google Ad Grant can put your ads not just into Google search results, but also onto Google Maps. It can put those ads onto google.com/maps, as you're seeing here. It can put the ads into a search listing. It can also put them onto the Google Ads app. All of this is really useful and really easy to do. Now, if your nonprofit is localized, particularly if you want visits or local support, especially if you want people to drop in. I mean, I'm thinking things like museums, galleries, churches, animal shelters, local organisations generally. The best results I've had was for a community cafe where we greatly increased the footfall. The example here, I've searched for charities in Leeds in the UK, and in the city centre there's a square icon where all of the others are round with a little shopping bag picture in there. And that's a British Heart Foundation. So that is a sponsored ad. If I click on these three dots next to the word sponsored, I find out it's actually a paid ad. This one didn't come from an ad grant, but it could have been. I've just spent half an hour or so looking around various cities, typing in various things, and I found very few charities using maps and even fewer using their ad grant for this purpose. Very few organisations seem to be aware that they can do this, even though the ability to do this has been around for about a year or more. If I hover over that icon, I see some information that you might not be used to seeing in a normal ad. Yeah, it's got the name of the organisation, but it's got things like this, a categorisation, it's a thrift store, an accessibility icon. It's got the address and opening hours, the ability to save it on the map and also to find directions. Now, none of that is in Google Ads, at least not in the ads you're used to creating. And over on the left as well, we see pretty much the same options plus a telephone number. It's really easy to do this. First, you're going to need to have a Google Business Profile. I'm going to show you an example here. This is a charity called the King's Gardens. It's in Maui. It's they do environmental walking tours. Now they have a regular ad here. If I search for them, that's a regular search ad coming from their ad grant. They also have a Google Business Profile, and possibility that ads would show in here sometimes. Now, how do you get this? Get listed on Google Maps. You need a Google Business Profile. This can put your profile into not just Maps, but also on this as like a side panel in a normal Google search. Once you have set this up, you can connect this to Google Ads. So you go through a process. You put your business name in, or was your non-profit's name in. You can choose its category, so you just start typing. So if it was an animal shelter, that it comes up on the list. There's a lot of categories in here, and you would name it. So canine rescue, or whatever it's called. And you might find that it's already on there. If I try typing, for example, British Heart Foundation, it's already on there. So check first and go through this process. You'll be asked to prove who you are. And then after doing this, you enter some information about your organization. You can add photos, you can add all sorts of detail about your opening hours, if appropriate, phone number, and so on. Once you've been approved and once you've done this, that's when you go to Google Ads. Now in Google Ads, you can create performance max campaigns these days. It used to be that you only had the option of a search campaign. Now you can do search and PMax. And the important thing to remember here is that your Google Maps ads can only be created if you use a Performance Max campaign. This is an account for a children's museum in Manhattan, and they are putting ads onto Google Maps. Once you've created your Google Business Profile and it's been approved and you're up and running, that's when you go to Google Ads, you log in and you go to the Assets menu. Now this is the exact same place that you would go to add site links, business name, and all sorts of other assets to your ads. So here, for example, are their site links. And if I go to location, you can see that they have one already. They have a business profile link here. And underneath we have the asset itself. So that business profile is used to create the asset that your ads are going to use for the Children's Museum of Manhattan. And it's as simple as doing this. You hit the plus button, big blue plus icon, and you choose which campaign to add it to. You can add it at account level, and I almost always do that. The only reason to choose campaign would be if you had one campaign for where you wanted a different location showing to another, and that would only be if your nonprofit has multiple locations. So I'll do account level, and at this stage you would be asked to, if you hadn't done this before, to connect your Google Business Profile. And if you've got all that set up, then it would work differently. You would just follow this, except we've already done it. There is only one location. We've added it. There's no more to add. If you hadn't connected, this is where you're going to be walked through the process. You'll be able to see if it's working because there is a report, and it's in Insights and Reports, and it's called Channel Performance. And in here, you will see how much of your ad grant spend and impressions has been on search and how much has been on maps. And not only that, you'll be able to find out whether they are leading to results or not. Are you getting conversions from them? Are people actually visiting? So for example, here we can see that there's been not so many impressions on maps as I'd have expected, mainly on search, not uncommon, but I have seen an account where about 80% of the spend was going onto Google Maps. If you want to see cost rather than impressions, there's an option there. And if you want to see only maps and not any other channels, you can also do that. Once you're connected to a Google Business Profile and you've got a location asset in Google Ads, you will start to see over the next few weeks, as the ads get shown on maps, new goals appear. And that's because people on Google Maps can be searching for directions. They can be saving the destination on their map. They can also do things like sharing it with other people. So these start to appear as conversions, which is really handy because in your ad grant, you need to start conversion tracking. This is all simplified for you. When it's maps, it's pretty much all automated. So get directions. This is a Google Maps one only. And we have had in the last month 245 times that action has happened because people have seen this on Google Maps. That's a lot. I think it's safe to say that this is driving a lot of visits. We also have something called other engagements. Now, it doesn't exactly explain this, but that is the things like it being shared, it being saved on maps and so on. This is to do with Google Maps. Perhaps most usefully of all, shop visit. Now, I know it's not a shop, but the way that Google Maps presents this, it just kind of assumes that you're running a business. Now, we have actually had 66.67. Don't get too confused about fractions and conversions. I know, how can 2/3 of a person have visited? But there have been 66.67 visits physically on foot to the location. That's a pretty good result on the whole. And what if you actually want to see examples of your ads on the maps? You can do that in the Google Ads Transparency Center. You can type in the name of the organization. I've chosen kingsgardenmaui.com here. I've chosen United States only. And I see some examples of ads. I can then filter if I want, just to see Google Maps instead of search. And if I click on one, I see real life examples of ads that were actually shown. And some of them look pretty much like a search ad. And some of them are really quite unusual. This text at the bottom is actually from the ad text in a Performance Max campaign. But the other things aren't. This wording is coming straight from Google Business Profile, and these pictures at the top are from Business Profile as well. And obviously things like directions and call and ratings and reviews and distance and opening hours, all of that is Maps functionality. So you've got a kind of a Frankenstein's ad going on here, merging together your Google ad and your business profile. On the whole, I'd say this is a very valuable technique for any local organisation wanting visits, and you should be doing your best to enable this. And if you are an organisation with multiple locations, like for example charity shops, this should be an absolute no-brainer.